Let's do it.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's great to be back.
It's been fascinating exploring all these different
Yeah.
facets of acceptance,
Right.
from mindfulness and ancient philosophies to the power of humor.
Absolutely.
What stands out to you so far?
I think what's fascinating to me
Yeah.
is how interconnected these concepts really are.
Yeah.
It's not about picking and choosing one tool or technique.
Right.
It's more about weaving them all together
Yeah.
into like a tapestry
Like
of
acceptance.
acceptance.
Yeah.
Now, as promised,
Yes.
we're going to open up the floor to your questions.
I'm excited.
We've gotten some really insightful submissions from our listeners.
And I'm excited to dive into them with you
Okay.
and see how we can apply these principles
Yeah.
to real life challenges.
Real world scenarios.
Are you ready to tackle some real world scenarios?
Let's do it.
All right, our first question comes from Sarah.
Okay.
She writes, I'm struggling to accept a recent job loss. I feel like a failure, and I'm constantly replaying the events that led to my termination. How can I move forward and find peace with this situation?
Sarah, job loss is a significant life event.
It is.
It's completely natural to feel
Yeah.
a whole mix of emotions.
Right.
Sadness,
Mm-hmm.
anger, confusion, even grief.
It's a lot.
It really is. And it's important to acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah,
Allow yourself to process them without judgment.
that's a really good point. It's not about pretending that everything is okay
No?
or suppressing those difficult emotions.
Exactly.
It's about letting yourself feel them fully
Yeah.
without getting swept away by them.
That's it.
Okay.
And this is where some of the tools we've discussed
Mhm.
can be incredibly helpful.
Okay.
Remember that Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control.
Right.
You can't change the fact that you lost your job,
Okay.
but you can control how you respond to the situation.
So instead of dwelling on the past and blaming myself,
Yeah.
I can shift my focus to what I can do right now.
Exactly.
Like updating my resume networking or exploring new career paths.
Precisely. And remember the power of journaling.
Oh, yeah.
Writing down your thoughts and feelings can be so powerful
Right.
for processing those emotions and gaining clarity.
Yeah.
It can also help you to identify any negative thought patterns
Yeah.
that might be keeping you stuck
Right.
in that cycle of self-blame.
Sometimes just getting those thoughts out of my head
Yeah.
and onto paper can make such a difference.
Agree?
It's like they lose their power when I can actually see them in black and white.
They do.
And as you work through those emotions,
Yeah.
try to shift your focus from dwelling on the past
Right.
to envisioning a brighter future. What are your passions?
Good question.
What are your skills?
Mm.
What kind of work would truly light you up?
Love it.
This could be an opportunity to reevaluate my priorities
Good.
and maybe even explore a career path that I'm more passionate about.
Absolutely.
Sometimes a setback can be a catalyst
It can.
for positive change.
Every ending
Yeah,
is also a new beginning.
I like that.
Right.
Okay, our next question comes from David,
All right, David.
who asks, how can I accept my aging parents' declining health? It's so hard to watch them struggle, and I feel helpless to stop the inevitable.
David, this is a situation that touches so many of our lives.
It does.
Watching our parents age
Yeah,
and face health challenges.
it's hard.
It's incredibly difficult. And it's natural to feel a sense of helplessness,
Yeah,
even grief.
I imagine it can also bring up a lot of fear.
It does.
Fear of losing them,
Mhm.
fear of the unknown.
Absolutely. And acceptance in this context
Yeah.
doesn't mean giving or resigning yourself to the situation.
Okay.
It's about acknowledging the reality of what is,
Mm-hmm.
even when it's hard,
Yeah,
and finding ways to be present with your parents
right.
in a way that honors their dignity
That's beautiful.
and allows them to feel loved and supported.
It's not about denying the reality of their situation,
No.
but finding ways to connect with them
Yeah.
on a deeper level,
I like that.
to cherish the time you have together.
Exactly. Spend quality time with them, listen to their stories,
Yeah.
reminisce about happy memories,
Right.
and create new ones.
And focus on what you can control,
yes.
like providing practical assistance, ensuring their comfort, and advocating for their needs.
Exactly.
And David, remember to take care of yourself as well.
Yeah.
Caregiving can be emotionally and physically draining.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to reach out for support from friends, family, or professional caregivers.
That's so important.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
It's true. Self-care is not selfish.
Yeah.
Essential.
Okay, our final question comes from Maria,
Okay.
who asks, How can I accept my partner's flaws? I love him dearly, but sometimes his habits drive me crazy and I find myself trying to change him.
Maria,
Mm.
this is something so many of us can relate to.
Yeah.
Relationships can be challenging,
For sure.
and it's so easy to get caught up
Right.
in trying to change our partners to
Yeah.
fit our ideal.
I've definitely been guilty of that.
I think we all have.
Like, I have this vision
Right.
of how they should be,
Yeah.
and then I get frustrated when they don't live up to that image.
We all have expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But the key here is recognizing that trying to change your partner
Yeah.
is a recipe for resentment and frustration.
That's so true.
Acceptance in relationships begins with accepting our partners for who they are,
Right.
imperfections and all.
It's about appreciating their strengths
Yes.
and accepting their weaknesses, just as we hope they'll do for us.
Exactly. And it's about focusing on what you love and appreciate
Right.
about your partner,
Yeah.
rather than fixating on what you wish were different.
That's a good point.
Instead of trying to change them,
Okay.
focus on communicating your needs
Mhm.
and boundaries
Yeah.
in a healthy and assertive way.
It's not about suppressing my needs or
Uh-huh.
pretending everything is perfect.
Right.
It's about finding a way to communicate those needs
Yeah.
effectively and respectfully
Exactly.
without trying to control and manipulate my partner.
Exactly. And remember, relationships thrive on mutual respect,
Mm-hmm.
understanding,
Yeah.
and a willingness to meet each other halfway.
That's a great reminder for us all.
Yeah, it is. It's like we've been handed this incredibly powerful toolkit.
Right. And now we're figuring out how to use all the tools.
Yeah, and it's not just about the individual tools, it's about how they work together.
Exactly. That's a great point. It's about like integrating them into our daily lives.
So true.
Yeah.
And speaking of putting these ideas into action,
Yeah.
so that's a great segue
Perfect.
into our listener questions.
I'm excited to dive into these questions.
Go.
We've got some really good ones this week.
Let's do it.
Our first question comes from Maria.
Okay, Maria.
She writes, I love my partner dearly, but sometimes his little habits drive me crazy. I find myself constantly trying to change him. Any advice on how to accept him flaws and all?
Oh, Maria, this is so relatable.
I know, right?
It's so easy to get caught up in trying to change our partners.
It really is.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Trying to change someone you love usually backfires.
I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah. It creates tension and resentment.
Exactly.
True acceptance in a relationship means embracing your partner's imperfections.
Not just tolerating them, but actually embracing them.
Exactly. And that doesn't mean you have to like everything about them.
Of course not.
It's about recognizing that their flaws are part of who they are,
Yeah.
and that those quirks might actually be what makes them so unique.
And endear.
Exactly. And instead of trying to mold them into your ideal partner,
Right.
focus on communicating your needs and boundaries in a loving way.
That's such a good point. It's about communication.
It is.
Not control.
Exactly. And remember, relationships thrive on mutual respect,
Right.
understanding, and compromise.
It's about meeting each other halfway.
So well said.
Okay, let's move on to our next question. This one comes from David.
Okay, David, what do you have for us?
He writes, my parents are getting older and their health is declining. It's heartbreaking to watch. I feel so helpless. Any advice on how to accept this difficult situation?
David, my heart goes out to you. This is something that so many of us go through.
It's a universal experience.
It is, and it's
Yeah.
never easy watching our parents age and struggle.
It's hard to accept that our parents aren't invincible.
Right, and acceptance in this situation doesn't mean giving up. It means recognizing the reality of what is,
Right.
and finding ways to be present with your parents
Yeah.
in a loving and supportive way.
So how can we actually do that?
One thing that can be helpful is to focus on the things you can control,
Okay, like what?
like making sure your parents are comfortable,
Right.
spending quality time with them, listening to their stories,
Yeah.
and just being there for them emotionally.
That's so important, just being present.
It is. And remember, it's okay to ask for help.
That's true. We don't have to go through this alone.
You can reach out to other family members, friends, or even professional caregivers.
There are resources available to help us through this.
Absolutely. Taking care of yourself is essential.
Yeah, we can't pour from an empty cup.
So true.
Okay, so we've talked about relationships and aging parents.
Big topics.
Let's tackle one more question.
All right, bring it on.
This one comes from Sarah.
Okay, Sarah.
She says, I recently lost my job and I'm having a really hard time accepting it. I feel like a failure and I can't stop dwelling on the past. How can I move on and find peace?
Sarah, job loss is a huge life change,
It really is.
and it's natural to feel a lot of difficult emotions.
Like grief and sadness and maybe even anger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's okay to allow yourself to feel those emotions.
So it's not about pretending everything is fine.
No, it's about acknowledging those feelings
Right.
and then finding healthy ways to process them.
Okay, so what are some healthy ways to process those feelings?
Well, remember the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control.
Yeah.
You can't change the fact that you lost your job,
Right.
but you can control how you respond to this situation.
Okay, so I can shift my focus
Exactly.
from dwelling on the past to taking action.
Yes. Update your resume network. Reach out to people in your field.
Those are all great suggestions.
And remember the power of journaling.
Yeah.
Writing down your thoughts and feelings can be incredibly therapeutic.
It's like releasing them from my mind.
It can also help you to identify any negative thought patterns.
Oh, yeah, like those self-critical thoughts.
Exactly. And once you're aware of those patterns, you can start to challenge them.
That's a great point. It's about becoming aware of our thoughts and choosing to focus on the positive. And this might sound cliche,
Go ahead.
but maybe this job loss is actually an opportunity.
Interesting. Tell me more.
An opportunity to reevaluate your career path
I like it.
and maybe even pursue something you're more passionate about.
Every ending is a new beginning.
That's so true.
So use this as a chance to explore new possibilities.
I love that idea.
And remember, Sarah, you're not alone in this.
There are so many resources available.
And people who care about you.
Don't be afraid to reach out for support.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we've covered some really insightful ground today.
It's been a great conversation.
We've explored so many different facets of acceptance.
Yeah, from ancient wisdom to modern techniques.
And we've seen how these principles can be applied to real-life challenges.
And I think the biggest takeaway for me
Yeah, what is it?
is that acceptance is not about giving up.
Right. It's not about passivity or resignation.
It's about actively choosing to embrace life
Yeah.
with all its ups and downs.
The good, the bad, and the messy.
It's about finding peace, even in the midst of chaos,
And remember, everyone, this is just the beginning.
of your journey toward acceptance.
The real work begins when you take these insights
Yes.
and apply them to your own unique experiences,
And if you stumble along the way,
which we all do.
be kind to yourself.
Give yourself grace.
And remember, you're not alone.
We're all in this together.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
And keep embracing the journey.
See you soon.
Please click like and then subscribe. Also share this video with your friends. Thank you.